I've been in this movie investigation business for quite some time now, and yet the most obvious genre of film for me to take a look at hasn't dropped on my doorstep until today. Well, better late than never. The Hitch-Hiker, a movie about a tense, frightening, and scariest of all, realistic situation based on a true account of a hitchhiking serial killer and his two captives. This show is called Film Noir, so I would say it's high past time I actually review a film in that genre. The film is produced by RKO Pictures, which was responsible for the making of Citizen Kane, argued to be one of the greatest films ever made, and King Kong, one of the most famous films ever made. Did from the makers of this other good film that you liked actually mean something back then? We're about to find out. This is The Hitch-Hiker. This is the true story of a man, and a gun, and a car. Nice grammar you got there, movie. The gun belonged to the man. The car might have been yours. Well, I've never picked up a hitchhiker in my life, so it definitely couldn't have been mine. Or that young couple across the aisle. Last time I checked, owning people has been illegal since 1863. What you will see in the next 70 minutes could have happened to you, for the facts are actual. Is this is a true story too subtle an explanation for our delicate minds or something? Wow, less than a minute in and this movie has already called all of you a complete bunch of utter morons. All kidding aside, it represents the production company Filmmakers Incorporated. And I do like these shorter opening credits, which are accompanied by clips of the titular hitchhiker. How efficient of them. They're both giving us a taste of the experience we're in for, but at the same time they're forcing us to appreciate the people who made the experience possible. That, however, seemed a little unnecessary. We established that he's a killer. Do we need to see it twice already? Anyway, we get introduced to our other two characters in this, Roy Collins and Gilbert Bowen, who are going on a fishing trip in Mexico.
Nothing to do in San Felipe but fish.
Well, that was the idea. You know, except for the war, this is the first time I've been away from Morty and the kids.
You want to turn back?
No, we've come this far. Mexicali's beginning to sound good.
They travel to town for some drinks, and then some. But Gil has fallen asleep by that time, so they leave. So let me get this straight. They went somewhere, did nothing, and then left. This scene is entirely pointless. To make up for it, the next scene cuts to the chase by giving us the hitchhiker we paid to see.
Smoke?
No. Face front. And keep driving.
Ah, typical noir style. A dramatic reveal with a great use of shadow to execute it. Classic.
Sure, I'm Emmett Myers. Do what I tell you, and don't make no fast moves, or a lot of dead heroes back there get nervous.
To avoid funny business, Emmett directs them to keep their hands in visible spots, and takes their bullets and guns away.
You like to shoot?
Yeah.
So do I. So I'm warning you, don't try anything smart with me.
It's nice to turn back the clock and have this calm, collected killer, when all we have to look forward in modern cinema tends to be psychos that are so jumpy with paranoia. He also uses very subtle gestures to keep them on their toes, like playing with his gun and engaging in a bit of small talk.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a draftsman. He runs a garage.
That makes you smarter. Or does it? You ought to be all over that windshield.
Jeez, dude!
I got lucky. It hit an empty chamber. I had to use it a while back. Now, don't make any more fast moves. I told you the last guy made that mistake.
It's a bump in the road. You've done enough hitchhiking, you should be used to that, you deranged putz! They cross a checkpoint, stock up on supplies, and get a road map. Emmett plans to flee to Santa Rosalia and catch a ferry across the Gulf to freedom, giving Roy and Gil some perspective of how far they might make it before getting killed. But come on, Emmett Myers is only human. Just because he's a killer doesn't mean he doesn't know how to have fun every once in a while.
That's it! All right, Collins, put the can back on the rock. Let's see you try it. See how good you are. Not bad.
Even with Emmett trying to blow Roy's hand off, maybe the sharing of this pastime will allow them to get a glimpse of some humanity.
Now hold it up! You won't get hurt. Your buddy's good with guns. Hold it closer. You want me to try it again? I might miss this time.
Oh, come on! Going out and shooting with people used to be sort of a bonding experience, a rite of passage. It was a common hobby for people back then, and this guy's just gone and ruined it. I wonder if audiences in 1953 felt a bit of their childlike glee when shooting something die right on the spot when they watched this scene.
Nervous? Relax. All right, Collins, come on in. Fun's over.
Oh yeah, sure. The fun. It's not fun anymore, you parasite! These guys didn't exactly seem thrilled about going fishing. That's probably all the amusement they've got left in their lives now that you've taken the fun of shooting stuff away. Listen, as much as I'm having fun with all this suspense and frustration, we spent 13 minutes of movie with just these guys. Can we get something else? Anything, please. Just cut away for a minute.
And a good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sam Hayes reporting your news final. At the top of the news tonight is the report that the hitchhike murderer, Emmett Myers, is still at large.
That'll do.
The police have set up roadblocks on all major highways in the western states, and all border stations are being closely watched. Myers is slight, 28 years of age. He's wearing a dark shirt, dark gray trousers, and a black leather jacket. His right eyelid is partially paralyzed.
So that's why his eyes look kind of strange. Thank goodness for that. I thought he was insane or something. They set up camp at a river. And just in case you suspected Myers could be caught off guard while sleeping, that paralyzed eye happens to come in quite handy.
You couldn't tell if I was awake or asleep. That one bum eye. Won't stay closed. Pretty good, huh?
I'm sorry to keep repeating myself about this, but this guy's creepiness factor is really good. Scary fantasy monsters jumping out at you are nice and all, but far more frightening is unnerving reality staring you in the face and barely blinking. I gotta wonder how he sleeps though. He must not be fully asleep if he's not dropping the gun. They stop at a shop to get supplies. Myers, keeping consistent in his detail-oriented paranoia, tells them not to speak any Spanish because he doesn't understand it. I better not have to repeat myself about how creepy and competent this guy is again.
Go on, load it up.
That'll hold us. Pay him.
Dame una manzana. Dame una manzana. Dame una manzana.
Close, but no cigar. Myers' intimidation is further evidenced by this minimal bit of backstory.
You're scared to get out on your own. You always had it good, so you're soft. Nobody ever gave me anything. So I don't owe nobody. When you get the know-how and a few bucks in your pocket, you can buy anything or anybody. Especially if you got them at the point of a gun.
So basically, no obvious weakness. Well, that'd frighten anybody. No wonder Roy's getting all antsy and trying to make moves.
I'm not going to take it anymore. We got to get him. You can't beat him that way. As long as he needs us, we'll stay alive. When he gets ready to jump us, we'll jump him, not before.
The first risk they choose to take is to disconnect the radio wire.
Stop it! Stop it! I can't. I gotta pull up and disconnect it. Then pull up! Go pull the radio wire!
Well, gee, do you know their blood types too? Is there any detail about this that Emmett Myers hasn't taken into account? As much as I appreciate the intimidation, him having no weakness is starting to make this movie feel repetitive. Thankfully, whenever that happens in this movie, it just cuts to something else.
3 Americans stopped for provision at a store owned by Jose Andrade. Andrade gave an accurate description of Meyer as being one of them.
This confirms our theory that Collins and Bowen are with them. He seems to be heading south, all right.
His most logical move would be Santa Rosalia.
So now we have a bit of a double-edged sword here. The police have connected Myers with Roy and Gil, so they know how to pin him. On the other hand, if Myers finds this out, he's certainly going to shoot Roy and Gil at the first opportunity. You thought the suspense in the movie was already pretty good? Now it's got layers. Just on the tail of this, some bystanders report seeing Gil and Roy changing a tire and behaving suspiciously while doing so.
Sí, señor. Pasamos un carro. ¿Qué marca? Oh, la marca no me acuerdo. Era un sedán verde. Por cierto que tenía una llanta ponchada y dos hombres le estaban arreglando.
1953 didn't have subtitles, but you get the general idea. Next, the gang breaks into a gas station and...
Mi perro. Hirieron mi perro.
Okay, it's one thing to ruin shooting as a pastime for people, but now you just reached a new low. Thankfully, Gil and the police are smart. Gil leaves his wedding ring, which has his name engraved on it, and the police figure out that the hostages know they're being followed. So what do the police do?
We're issuing these broadcasts in the States, containing false information as to his whereabouts and not connecting the two men with him.
Hey, that's a great plan. Except I think they actually succeeded in cutting the radio wire, which means Myers isn't listening, which means he won't know about the false report, which means he won't fall for the false report. If they add any more suspense to this, you could cut the tension with a knife. And we'll add that suspense by finally having a point in the movie where Roy and Gil try to make their escape. And does Myers kill them now? Not without having a mine shaft to drop them down, he doesn't. That is, until they fix the radio and hear what's on it.
We interrupt this hour of music to bring you a flash bulletin. California and Mexican police officials have abandoned their previously held theory that Emmett Myers is connected with the disappearance of Gilbert Bowen and Roy Collins of El Centro, California. They have been missing since last Sunday night, supposedly on a fishing trip. The police on both sides of the border now feel that Myers is traveling alone and has apparently abandoned his intention of seeking escape by way of Santa Rosalia.
I repeat, Myers is definitely not going that way, and this is definitely not a false broadcast. The car is toast from an oil leak, so they're forced to walk. But this oil has been leaving a trail for quite some time, so the cops are still on their tail. If they can up the stakes any further than they already have...
You're just about my size. Put you in a black shirt and dark pants. With a leather jacket. You look just like Emmett Myers. To anyone who never saw it. What's the change?
Well, of course they can. I mean, why wouldn't they? And as if things aren't hopeless enough, Myers decides to rub it in a little bit more.
You guys are really fools. If you weren't, one of you would have got away. But you kept thinking about each other. So you missed some chances. Now it's pretty late. Yeah, tomorrow I'll be in Guaymas. Too bad you're not making the whole trip with me.
Sure, you'll make it to Guaymas, but they'll catch up with you and put you out of your misery. You haven't got a chance. You haven't got a thing except that gun. You better hang on to it, because without it, you're nothing. You're finished. Shut up!
Why he didn't shoot him just now, I'm not entirely sure. But I think we just learned something pretty telling about Myers, and if these characters can use that to their advantage, this case is as good as closed. Unlike Myers' paralyzed eye. In any case, they've hired a man with a boat to take them fishing. Fortunately, the cousin of that boatsman saw a wanted poster of Myers and called the police. Okay, people, we have less than 5 minutes left in this movie. It's time for something exciting to happen.
I'm not Myers! You hear me? I'm not Myers! Alto! Alto!
Wow. I mean, I know they directly said he's nothing without his gun, but geez. Talk about an Achilles heel. Roy throws a few punches at Myers as he's carted off to jail. He and Gil walk off into the distance, fade to black. And that's it. That's the movie. I know, not the kind of ending we're used to in our movies nowadays, but, you know, just conflict resolved. Everybody go home. Ladies and gentlemen, that's The Hitch-Hiker for you. This movie showcases a lot of things about filmmaking of the time. They were limited by their technology, so the other elements got more of a spotlight. The characters are allowed to be experienced rather than explained. The suspense and discomfort caused by Myers kept escalating and never let up until the right moment. The lack of exaggerated Mexican stereotypes also adds a fair deal of realism to the situation. Roy and Gil are underdeveloped characters, but they're meant to be surrogates for the audience, people whose shoes you can put yourself into. Kinda like Bella from Twilight, except it doesn't suck. The way this movie starts off, they say, "This might have happened to you." It's a cautionary tale, and that serves as a very effective way of trying to put you in the shoes of the characters. But, as it is with every movie, this one has some plot holes. Only a few, though. How does Myers not drop his gun while sleeping? Paranoid and crazy as he is, he's also human and needs sleep just like anybody else. He'd have to slip up sooner or later. Given how detail-oriented Myers is, how did he not notice that Gil had left behind his wedding ring? With the barking dog to deal with, Myers was probably more concerned with getting caught at the gas station. Just call it the one thing that he didn't notice that ultimately led to his downfall. This review was a very worthwhile experience for me. Amidst all the spectacular, bombastic events that we experience by going to the movies today, it's important, even if just once in a while, to go back in time and appreciate the cinematic roots that got us to where we are today, especially our own.